Hi, it's Stephen here from Son of a Nation Wave, and this is day 22 of the March daily draw. So as we start the weekend, let's see what message we get. And I'll be taking the first card from the Ostara Tarot, followed by an oracle card from the Seasons of the Witch, Ostara Oracle. So let's choose our first card and get the reading underway. Okay, here we go. We have the Eight of Swords. And a very interesting depiction of the Eight of Swords here. Oh, and it's a good one too. This bird of prey with on the glove here, with the the hood blind on here, and the swords going around. So it's quite reminiscent of the woman surrounded by the swords, with blindfolded and tied, etc. But the Eight of Swords tells us it's usually about a sense of being feeling trapped in a situation or feeling restricted, that we can't get out of something, we don't know how to get out of it. We feel as if we're tied down, we're hemmed in, we can't break free. This is how we feel. This is how we think in our minds, because it's swords. It's about the intellect, so it's about how mindset is. We feel restricted and limited in our thinking, or our thinking is limiting what we do because of the way, we are limited in what we can do because of the way we think. And the key here is to change the way we think, so to remove that limitation, because it seems to be a limitation that we are putting on ourselves through the way we are thinking, the way that we are perceiving something, the way we are perceiving ourselves. It's the thoughts going on in our minds that is influencing our sense of being unable to move forward or break free or whatever it is we want to do. We've got limiting thinking. We've got restrictive thinking. The thoughts we have about ourselves and our situation are convincing us that we can't go anywhere. We can't break out. We can't move out of this. It's an impossible situation. But the truth of the matter is, if we could see more clearly, more truthfully perhaps, about ourselves and the situation that we're in, we would see that all is not what it seems. That yes, we may be surrounded by things, but this bird could quite easily fly. He could break free, but he can't see that because he's hooded. He can't see. But if that hood was removed, if that blindfold was removed, he could see that perhaps there are ways in which he could break free, and that he could fly and go and seek his prey, is what he wants. But because he can't see that reality, his mind is almost tricked into thinking that he's almost, he's imprisoned by his own mind. I can't remember what deck it is. There's a deck. I might not even have the deck, but there's a deck that exists, of which I've seen a version of the Eight of Swords. And it's about somebody locked in a cell. And they're sat there almost feeling trapped and locked in this cell. But in the image, the key to the cell is in the door. And all they need to do is turn the key and unlock the door and walk out of their cell. But they sit down with their head in their hands, so they've got their head in their hands, so they don't see the key, or it doesn't register the fact that the means is there for them to get out, but they're so caught up in the sense of despair and of their surroundings, and their mind is such that it doesn't occur to them that the means for them to get out is there. So I don't know what deck it is. There's a card that has that image. Somebody might have the deck that watches this. I'm sure it's a deck I don't have, but I've seen people use, and I've shared that image, and it's perhaps one of the cards that it may be a deck that I've thought about getting but never got for whatever reason. Maybe some of the other cards didn't appeal to me, but that particular card, I did like that depiction. And it carries forth that means of the fact that the restriction is self-imposed by our thinking half the time, or most of the time. And I think this links to yesterday with the Five of Wands, with that inner conflict. That tends to be about competing motivations and visions and things like that. And until we resolve that inner thing, that inner conflict, we can't move forward. And I think that this is interesting that this comes out, that so as well as that those inner conflicts of our desires that we need to perhaps resolve, this may be a mental perception that we need to deal with too, that may also be holding us back, because we're saying that inner conflict is stopping us from really embracing and focusing on a goal and really moving forward. And maybe our thinking, the way that we perceive a situation, maybe we need to get a new perspective on it, or to think a different way about it, or to realize, and that's the message. And I wish I could tell you a simple way where in which to change your perception, different ways in which you can change your thinking or get a clearer thinking about the matter, other than perhaps asking the universe to show you more clearly what you need to know as the truth about you and the situation. Because sometimes we think things about ourselves. I'm not able to do this, when perhaps you are, but you've convinced yourself that you're able to do this. Or other people, through their words and actions towards you, have convinced you that you're unable to do certain things. But it's not the truth, but they've convinced you that it is. Maybe seeking advice from someone you trust, or even a professional. Anything. Asking questions. Why do I feel like this? It's not an easy thing to change our thinking, our perceptions once it's there, but it's possible, and it will transform your ability to move forward. Removing that hood is perhaps the first step. Getting that clearer vision of what the situation is, and why you feel the way that you do, and how to correct that where necessary. Okay, so let's see which oracle card we get to go with that. Grasshopper. We've had this card before. The whispers of your desires are guiding you to trust the unfolding of your story. there's an element of trust here as well. No matter what your intellectual perception may be, trust that inner voice. And that's why it's any inner conflict you've got, it resolve that, because that that'll that inner conflict will make it harder for you to hear that inner voice. And you need harmony in your desires. Those whispers, they're whispers. So you need to be stilled. It's not shouting at you. You need to quieten enough in order to be able to hear those whispers of your desires that will help guide you forward. And then you trust in that. Regardless, your mind may be saying, but. Don't listen to the buts. Listen to that, to your heart, and let that be your guide. So maybe that's the key. Sometimes we have to shut out that intellect that says, but you can't do this because I can't do this, and all these words. And if you can't immediately change your thinking, then almost shortcut out that thinking. Say, well, just assume that this thinking's wrong and that my heart is telling me a different picture. I'm going to go with that and trust in that. And then as we move forward, maybe it will become clearer that our thinking was wrong all the time. Okay, this one's been longer than usual, but very, very deep, very involved, that message. But that's today's message. I'll be back tomorrow with day 23. Until then, thank you for listening. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all again very soon. Okay, bye-bye.